Quasimorph Review, Schizo Edition by SsethTzeentach.
Hey, Lactation Nation, Seth here. In the not-so-distant future, man no longer fears the tyranny of a state, as sovereign nations have been abolished. For we found the best form of government. Anarcho-capitalism. Whenever anarcho-capitalism is mentioned to me in conversation, it's usually followed by repealing the age of consent. But in this case, it simply means everything and everyone in this entire solar system is corporate property. Quasimorph is an early access roguelike where you take the role of Magnum PMC, a private military contractor with flexible morality that does work for the highest bidder. The twist is, the world is over, Judgment Day is here, and we're all going to die. And we've chosen to profit from the chaos. But first, a word from our sponsor, because I gotta get that bread. Whoops, sorry guys, my PC crashed again. I had a single Chrome tab open, so my computer caught fire, burned down my house, and killed my wife's son. Thankfully,
I'm going to be honest, this is the whole reason I swapped over to Firefox. I can still pay for YouTube Premium, but like, yeah, me swapping over to Firefox because Chrome eats your RAM usage, bro.
Today's video is sponsored by Opera GX. It's no small secret that modern web browsers are massive resource hogs. They always say, just upgrade your rig, bro. But you know what? No. I'm using Opera's GX control feature to limit how much CPU and RAM the browser can use. But
I could always just download more RAM, right? You can go to downloadram.com and I can just download 64 gigabytes right now. I have RAM on demand.
Game uninterrupted, no matter how many memory leaks Elon adds to Twitter. Opera GX is extremely moddable. Check out this one that I made.
Nice.
I've heard your cries, your demands. More, Seth. We want more, Seth. Now you've got me with every single keystroke.
Yes!
I'll be there, stroking right alongside you.
I love it.
Oh, you don't like that? You just want the themed wallpaper? Opera GX once again has you covered. You
love
can
it.
fully customize which features come from which mods. And with a plethora of excellent mods on the store page, your browser can be whatever you want it to be. Check this out. By tweaking the music, keyboard sounds, tab sounds, theme, wallpaper, and custom shader, I've created the ultimate web browsing experience.
I love it.
Music to my ears. Now, I know what you're thinking, Seth. This browser sounds pretty cool and all, but switching browsers is such a pain. Worry not. Opera GX has an import tool to quickly download all your settings, history, bookmarks, and passwords in just one click. Use my link to download Opera GX today and say goodbye to all those pesky, boring other browsers. To answer the question...
So, ad read. That was about, what, 30 seconds? No, it was about a minute. Yeah, it was about a minute. A minute ad read. Not bad on length. It did not feel like it was a minute, which is good. It felt less than you think it's going to be. Had a lot of information. I thought it was a 10 out of 10. I thought it was great. I will say, in regards to Opera, if you are thinking of swapping over from Chrome, it is still Chromium-based. So when we start talking about YouTube, ad blockers, stuff like that, right? Not saying to ad block legally, I'm not going to say that, right? What I can say is if you are concerned about Chromium, Opera, as far as I'm aware, is also Chromium-based. Firefox is not, though, but obviously do your own research to find which browser suits your needs best.
What is a quasimorph? Sometimes the most accurate answer is the schizophrenic one. The setting of quasimorph stems from the esoteric metamythos of Daniil Andreev in his book Rose of a World, which describes Shadhanakar, or the systems of parallel worlds connected to Earth. These concentric layers are Brahmfuturas, the superimposition, influence, and overlap of which formulate together to create existence. At least I think so. Quasimorph.
This is right up my alley. How have I never heard of this? How have I never come across this? It's right up my alley. It's why I own, like, interesting books. Because it's like, well, Kip, why do you have this? Oh, I just have it. I like being well read on stuff. Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Is an intruder stepping in from another reality. And unfortunately, the veil between worlds is weakest between your chest cavity. Quasimorph is a turn-based survival extraction shooter, or in other words, 2D Escape from Tarkov, except fun. The principle is very simple. We take out a contract and send in one of our agents. If they die, no problem. They're not really any more people than they are proprietary neuro imprints. We license their consciousness, and we bioprint as many replacements necessary for total client satisfaction. You're free to take jobs from any of the major corporations, including the Quasimorphs. We may be locked in an existential war for humanity, but that doesn't stop me from holding stock in Techland. Rapture is coming, but homie, I got some great dividends, and you start with a favorable reputation. After all, you did help them entrench into this reality. You start a mission by selecting an active contract around the planet or moon you're currently orbiting. This requires you to select a mercenary, a class, and a loadout for the mission, after which you're deployed into hostile territory. Anyone you see, anything that moves, is kill on sight. An entire mission is 2 to 4 levels. If you change your mind midway and call the shuttle, fuel is expensive, so it's cheaper to let you die. The only way to extract is by completing the objective, which can be espionage, station defense, sabotage, elimination, or conquest. If you die anywhere in between, you lose everything. And I assure you, you're going to be dying a lot. If it's any consolation, I died during the tutorial because I picked up a knife, selected amputate, and clicked on my head. Each deployment...
I like that, though. I like it. It's kind of like, what is it, Kingsfield? You can just, like, sell, like, actual keys and softlock yourself. Like, actual, like, quest progression keys. And, I mean, like, the game allows you to do that, right? Like, I think that the way we've played games has fundamentally changed at this point in time, right? I mean, I remember trying to go through all these games myself, and then, you know, I couldn't get through the Arbiter's Ground and Twilight Princess, so thus I started relying on the internet more, because the internet at that point in time became more widely used, right? And thus I've spent, you know, many games where I'm just like, I'm just a guy, like RuneScape specifically, right? RuneScape 3, the only reason I blitzed the game as fast as I did, and I've got as far as I got, was because I literally looked up quest guides, especially because it's better to know what you're going to need for the quest, like bucket, rope, etc., going in. So, I mean, going in, just expect to fail. If not, we do live in the age of the internet where, you know, SsethTzeentach video on this exists, so that way you go in with information. It's like Diablo 2. I had never played Diablo 2 until I picked it up on Twitch, right? Until I picked it up on stream. Good God, I now understand why people said Blizzard used to be the GOAT. And now I'm pissed off that Blizzard's not better. To summarize, freedom of expression, great. Definitely makes players get a little wary because, oh, well, it's going to be hard, or, oh, I'm going to die a lot. Yeah, you're going to die a lot. It's going to be fine, okay? We're going to have a good time. Make the best of it. It's going to be good. I like games like this.
You're on a timer. The more time you spend and the more blood you spill, the higher your level of quasimorphosis. Quasimorphosis measures the probability of ecolapse, where, upon death, the host explodes and a quasimorph phases in. The severity of the situation is described in the bottom right. Somnia, no events. Grasp, occasional ecolapse. Intrusion, music changes, ecolapse and aggression increase. Plenum, spontaneous ecolapse. Alteration, the entire floor is coming. Qmorphose, music changes to its highest intensity. Every host in the map explodes. And finally, Rapture. If you want to live, you'll keep this number as low as possible. Naturally, there's only a few ways to do this. Drinking vodka, smoking Newports, and injecting morphine. Each time you move, you consume calories. At higher weights, this is 9 calories per step. This is what Americans really believe. And to avoid starvation, we need a steady supply of slop. But when the food runs out, I want you to consider alternative sources. When I consume my enemies, is it really cannibalism? For that implies I considered them human to begin with. Unfortunately, human flesh will raise your quasimorphosis. You delay one death and accelerate another. However, if you find a crafting bench and an empty tin, you can turn that long pig into gourmet dinner, which will no longer cause quasimorphosis. The implication being that it's not about devouring your fellow man, it's about table manners. Disclaimer, they patched the canned meat. It's so over.
No! Oh, no. Oh. Man, I was hook, line, and sinker. Even chat's just like, no. It's kind of like when Bethesda says something about do what you want, be what you want. Can I can super mutant meat, Todd? Can I take super mutant meat and put it into cans and then eat it to raise my rad levels and roid out as Lord Two Shanks? No, I can't do everything, can I, Todd?
On the other hand, they improved the crafting bench so much you have no idea. We are so back. In general, the crafting bench will save a lot of your early game runs. Don't sleep on it. Improvised toilet grenades clear rooms, makeshift batteries power autodocs and floor scanners. Completing a mission gives rewards, but more importantly, a reputation. You can land at any corporate asset so long as it's friendly and exchange goods for equipment. And if you're completely broke but friendly with Techland, you can even exchange yourself by amputating your own limbs. This is not a joke. It's a completely valid strategy to potato peel your digits, offer them at the Fevered Temple, regenerate your limbs on the ship, and do it all over again.
That's such a human thing to do, though. Can you imagine if, like, humans tomorrow could just regenerate limbs, like Deadpool status? Like, it might take a few days, but I mean, like, they could just regenerate. How many people would be selling arms in the streets, okay? Let me give you a hand. Dude, come on, man. As it turns out, when people don't have to worry about lasting consequences, humans evolve in very weird ways. Look at the internet. Look at anonymity on the internet. How many people say such just wild and deranged things because they're safe behind anonymity and not affecting them personally, right? Like IRL, right? Would somebody necessarily send a very cylindrical shaped makeshift object to a game dev's front door if it could be tracked back to them? Probably not. But man, a lot of people on Twitter would seemingly love to send cylindrical makeshift objects to game devs' houses. Like, what?
Not efficient, but we can no longer exploit blood bag synthesis. They caught on to us, boys. It was good while it lasted. Yeah. Speaking of which, the Magnum can fabricate almost everything, so long as you have the proprietary item chip. These are effectively a perpetual license, and are so incredibly valuable that finding one during a mission is a valid reason for evacuation. There's also class and mind chips, which unlock classes and mercenaries respectively. If you mouse over a chip and you see the words data miner, you've officially hit the jackpot. You can do whatever you want, but remember, your actions have consequences. Supporting a corporation will accelerate their growth and technology. If you want top-shelf gear, great. But if you turn against them in the future, you're not going to be facing wage slaves and general managers. You'll be facing rival PMCs and their own special forces. So I encourage you, pick a side, any side, and stick to it. There's a lot of minor corporations, but for the sake of time, here's the big players. SBN, social media monopoly. They own Twitter, the best energy rifles, and the lightest armor. RealWear, industrial mega manufacturer. Carnage Pattern is objectively the coolest armor, and they produce the highest RPM ballistics. And entertainment and research conglomerate. They make the most versatile armor, the best snipers, and the experimental HFC, this game's equivalent of Doom's BFG.
I was about to say, is that like the BFG equivalent? Dude, the BFG is just like everywhere. It's just like omnipresent. It's so good. It's really interesting because every game used to be, this is the new Doom or this is Doom. But now it's every game is Dark Souls. It's been very interesting to see that switch.
Quasimorphs from Venus that'll make you rage quit at least several times.
Nice.
Everything is Aztec, from the design to the desire for human organs. And finally, the Civil Resistance. These are terrorists that hope to bring about something even worse than Judgment Day. A return to national sovereignty. They intentionally hive mind themselves into a cluster of consciousness known as a call node. In effect, they have achieved working communism. Anyway, you understand the politics of our PMC. Let's return to the actual mechanics. It's very tempting to finish the tutorial and go straight to the moon. Somehow, I avoided this so I didn't get filtered by a wheelchair. Quasimorphosis is unique to each planet because they're subject to the influence of a different Brahmfatura. Venus, Ganix, Mercury, Shartamacum, and the Earth's moon, Dugur. Mars and its moons have absentia, which means there is no Quasimorphosis. So, if you're starting off, I recommend Mars. If you're learning, try Mercury and Venus. And if you know what you're doing, go to the moon. That doesn't mean any single location is safe, and death is around every corner. Most common cause of death? Flamethrowers. Not in the hands of enemies, but myself. An entire run gone in a flash because some unpaid worker amputated your neck with a circular saw. I assumed the weapon was busted, so I tried it myself. In a straight line, where it ricocheted and cut my legs clean off. When you take damage, you get injuries, which have to be treated.
It's like Dead Space status. I have the Ripper in Dead Space. But imagine just like putting the Ripper blade, it bounces off the wall and back into Isaac. Dude. Yes.
Or they get infected. And if there's no antibiotics on hand, well, it has to go. Secondly, the most common cause of getting filtered, pain shock. If you take too much damage too quickly, you get stunned and lose a turn. Both
Okay, but that makes sense though, because that like I could totally see why games, especially modern AAA, quadruple A games, I could totally see why they wouldn't do that as a mechanic. But that's so reasonable though. Just like imagine like all of your bones hurting, or like simultaneously getting hit on all your limbs and both your legs, right? Like arm, leg, like just all get hit at once, and maybe you take like a big hit to the chest. Okay, you're gonna need a second to just kind of process what just happened. I like that that's a realism thing. I don't think it makes for a good gameplay thing in the AAA industry, and I think a lot of people would really not like a feature like that, but it's really cool because like that's how that works.
Systems are universal. If you shoot something hard enough, they'll get stunned from a shock. If you cause injury, you can run away as they bleed to death. And if you amputate a critical organ, they might just die instantaneously. The number of action points you can take per turn is based on your move setting. At any time, you can switch between sneak, normal, and run. Sneak is 1 action point, but can detect the position of nearby enemies, use your inventory, and interact with nearby objects at no cost. Normal is 2 action points, and run is free. However, while running, you can't open your inventory and take a severe penalty to your accuracy. Peak performance requires that you abuse the system. Opening a door, switch to sneak, see enemies, switch to normal, and toss a grenade before switching back and locking it on the same turn. A lot of players have a tendency to go autopilot in sneak mode and just die without explanation. What usually happens is they turn a sharp corner, get their shit blasted in, but because they have a single action point, they go into pain shock, which rolls over to the next turn, where they get shot again and repeat the process until they die. The whole point of running is to face check. Understand your tools, and you'll find this to be a very satisfying tactical experience. I used to have complaints about this game, but after so many hours, I can tell you, if you die, it's a skill issue. I have a brain parasite, and it forces me to play this game at 2 times speed of cheat engine.
That's not, but sometimes it is a skill issue though. Like, so I'm bad at the Elden Ring DLC, right? Doing co-op with somebody to do some of the bosses, right? Like, I have to summon. It's fine. It's whatever, right? I am bad at the game. I have a skill issue. I still think the game is great. I still think the DLC is a banger, right? Like, you can be bad at something, but still recognize that it's good, right? If I die in Elden Ring, generally I know what I did or where my skills are lacking. Therefore, I understand what happened. Actual skill issues, right? But there's so many games that I'm bad at, but I understand why they're good, and so I think a lot of people get hung up on that. And I like that he brings this up.
A personal choice. I also use a macro to amputate every corpse. After 100 hours playtime, that's a necessity. Classes work like a perk system, and each mercenary has an intrinsic perk. This unique ability combines with your class of choice to create vastly different playstyles. For example, Percy comes with +5 to all resistance. Outfitted with full carnage pattern, he's the only person in the game that can set himself on fire and not take damage.
Nice.
And after putting him in Phoenix Brigade, I can shoot a single round of incendiary ammunition and burn down half the map.
I love it.
In general, you should pick a mercenary that suits your playstyle. Do you want to feast on human flesh? Play Isabella, because she's immune to infection. Even better, put her as Eclipse Blades and turn your cannibalism into a one-hit kill. Are you tired of getting stun-locked? Try Maximilian, because he doesn't feel pain. Would you like a slower pace? Play Mirza, because her caloric needs are 40% of everyone else. Are you tired of scraping by? Would you like to quadruple everyone's inventory to the point where every enemy contains 2 flavors of ramen and a pack of Lucky Strikes? Play Tunnel Rats and experience the greatest whiplash in difficulty, as everything that doesn't die to your shotgun gets knocked back into the void of space. I've discussed builds. Let's talk about guns, because there's a lot of them. If you want to kill enemies, you need to beat their resistance, and the type of damage you do is based on the ammunition. Flamethrowers and energy rifles cook organics, but have no effect on cyborgs.
Right.
In contrast, the buckshot of a shotgun will cut them to pieces. Most armor stops the blunt impact of a 9mm, but a 7.97 from an assault rifle will pierce right through. Quasimorphic weapons deal cold. Even if you're fully equipped, the full burst of a serpent's mouth will send you straight back to the menu. And poison was previously neglected. Now it's a complete menace. Also, there's turrets. They're incredibly useful for defense missions, and because an enemy ran right up to your face, shooting you in the crossfire. And finally, you might be asking yourself, what's that little icon on the bottom right? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about
Anyways, I forgot how to structure this video, so in conclusion, I give this game a self-inflicted out of 10. It's amazing. I know it's early access, but there's a lot of content already, and you can easily sink 80 hours on just the main gameplay loop. There's an impressive roadmap and features to come that I cannot disclose at this time because I promised I wouldn't tell. As always, more content to come next year because I gotta see my family. Merry Christmas! A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos consistently for several years. You're all truly wonderful, and you give me more than I deserve. And you won't stop asking me to take your money, so I will. In exchange, enjoy the outro.
Nice. 797, aka 8mm. God, big round. Like, I like it. Is it my kind of game? Probably not. I mean, watching his Warlords Battle Cry 3 review, I mean, I bought that game. I've been having issues trying to actually stream it, so that's been literally the thing that's been, you know, causing an issue with that. I have the GOG version, like you recommended. Like, this is someone's game. I like the way it's structured. I like the way that, you know, you have skill trees. You can kind of build what you want. I'm actually really loving that about Diablo 2 right now, right? Because it's like, yeah, you can just build so you can just like walk forward and just not have to play the game because you damage everything. It's kind of great, honestly. I'm on normal, obviously. I'm working my way up. But I like games that give the player the choice. And even if it requires a little bit of getting into, even if it requires, you know, getting to that skill floor, I like that it allows you to just play the game. It functions as the game intends it to function, right? If you read it, right? And that's honestly what I'm enjoying about Diablo, right? Oh, enemies drop 32% more gold, right? Hot damn, they dropped 32% more gold. Okay, fair enough. Charm does like 1 to 4 poison damage, right? Cool, I've just added poison damage to what I've done, right? Because I'm so used to games like we're in Destiny, right? Well, and Bubble used to stack, right? So raid strat was have the bubble in the back, well in the front, get back into Bubble to get your weapons of light, walk back out into the well to shoot, right? Did this all the time in Garden of Salvation. Well and Bubble no longer stack. You have Radiant from Well, which overrides Hunter Radiance for golden guns, right? You have things that override each other, like you can't use a div bubble and a tractor cannon at once, right? Like there's so many things that, okay, it says this, but then you think, does it really though? If you took someone, a new player, and you told them, oh, this is what we're doing, and they go, well, but I have tractor cannon, why don't you just div as well and it'll stack? Well, actually, it doesn't stack, right? So I appreciate games like this that, like, they just tell you what they do, right? Or if it doesn't interact with something else, it will say, like, this doesn't interact with X effect or Y effect, right? I think that that's competent game design, and I think it allows your audience, your player, to actually understand what's going on and not bore them with the tedium, right? Obviously, certain things should not interact with each other. Think like RuneScape, right? Where we have a couple big effects. Like it's like Darkness and, I don't know, it's Necromancer has one and then Mage has the other, right? But they don't stack. You can only have one of those damage-reducing effects in at play at one time, right? Like, I totally get that.
If you're interested, there's a 20% sale on GOG. A special thanks to the autistic Japanese man who tailored me this Mibeke suit.
Nice.
If you're interested in anything from a Democratic Republic of Congo military suit to a BDSM outfit, I've linked his Patreon in the description below. By the way, in case you're wondering, what's the most expensive part of his suit? It's the snake skin. Have a merry 2024, and I'll see you all next year.
That was a banger. I absolutely love that video. Down in the description, you will see a link to the original video as well as his channel. I absolutely recommend that you go ahead and check that out. Awesome work, always, by SsethTzeentach. And let me know what your thoughts are. Have you played this game? Do you agree when I talk about, man, it's great when games just tell you this is what this does, and then it does what it does. You don't have to worry. Look at the bottom left! Look at this dude! Look at him! What a dingus! Oh my god. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Thank you for watching, everybody. See you in the next one.